Let's talk about the RCF JMIX8. Now, I bought this speaker because I was looking for kind of a compact, all-in-one solution for smaller bar karaoke gigs. Something, normally when we go out for a bar dance and we have karaoke there as an add-on, we're there with a full DJ setup, 2 speakers on stands, a Mackie mixer to, mix the singers and stuff. But lately I've been in smaller bars where I'm kind of tightly set up in a corner, and a lot of times if you bring in a full DJ setup, there's, enough room for you, but then where do you put the singer? Out on the dance floor, or, try to squeeze them in like really close next to you. So I just wanted something to minimize my setup footprint for karaoke. And I decided on this guy right here. My other option that I had been considering prior to the release of this was the JBL Eon 1. But if you've watched my reviews on the Turbo Sound IP3000 or IP500, you'll know that I have found some limitations with a column array that has a fixed column. And with a fixed column, you can't adjust the height. It is what it is, and it seems like every column array with a fixed column, they decide a different height on it. I think the IP3000 is maybe close to like 7 feet, so I thought that would have been high enough, but still, if you get, a crowd of people standing in front of the speakers, there's really not much speaker above everybody's head, and what I've found from doing a big dance is they will block 80 to 90% of the volume coming out of the speakers. So I did not want to go with a fixed column. Also, the fact that this had a digital mixer built in with, compressors, tons of effects, and just more inputs in general, I thought for the extra money, I think an Eon 1's $1,000, this is $1,399. I thought it was worth the extra $400, plus you get, boy, I hate to spitball the SPL level of an Eon 1, but I feel like that one was a lot quieter, maybe around, I think this one's 127 dB, and I almost want to think the Eon 1 is maybe like 10 dB quieter, only a 10-inch sub where this has got a 12. I believe the same amount of speakers in the top, but I just think these are higher quality speakers that just get louder and sound better. Although I shouldn't knock the Eon 1 too much. I did listen to that at a Guitar Center, and I was pretty impressed with the bass output of the 10-inch sub, and the sound quality was pretty good. So I'm not going to knock that one too much. I may end up getting 1 or 2 for our rental inventory eventually, but for me, I wanted the little bit higher end one. So to start out with, let's talk about the case first. The case slips right over nice, not too tight, not too loose, so it was made well. Velcro flap on the top to cover the handle and the speak-on connector, which I think is a good addition, so that if you keep your stuff in a garage or something, anywhere where dust might be swirling around, you're not going to get a bunch of dust in the speak-on connector. So I do like the case. I do think it's a little expensive though. I like to see a slipcover be more in the range of maybe $59. I don't remember what map is on this. I paid about $100 for mine. I think they might retail for like $119 or $129. Pretty expensive for what it is. But going with a pole mount instead of a fixed column, drawbacks, I don't think it looks as nice and neat and clean as a fixed, unified column. But the advantages, well, and also I was a little worried about, just having a speak-on cord hang, because, part of having a fixed column is there's no cords you have to hook up. But RCF does go and give you 3 cord clips that actually work really nice. You can't even see the cord when you have it clipped into these. But the pole, it doesn't look very big, you know, when you put it together, but when it extends and you screw it into the top of this thing, at its highest setting, this entire speaker is above my head. I'm not super tall, 5'9", 5'9.5", but it does get, you know, the whole top speaker above my head. And it screws in, it doesn't just stick in, so it is, you know, you don't have a whole lot of wobble. I wish every speaker company would switch over from using standard pole sockets that just never seem to fit right. Like my Vantech 18As, you know, when I pole mount a top in those things, the thing just wobbles all over the place. Everybody should be utilizing the screw-in pole socket. So as far as the pole goes, just the advantage of being able to raise and lower the top as needed. You know, bigger venues with a lot of people, get it up nice in the air. You know, this last karaoke gig I did, it was a bar where people were primarily sitting. I didn't put it up as high, I lowered it down a little bit, tried to keep the volume at ear level for everybody. And then also, the benefit of having a pole is just the ability to swivel the top back and forth. With a column array like the IP3000 or the Electro Voice Evolve 50, if you have your speakers set up and you want to turn the top 45 degrees that way, you got to get down and turn the whole speaker. And just kind of a pain in the butt. With this, I just reach up and turn it. The top speaker does also fit right in the back for storage, which is pretty nice. It's not a all-in-one, grab one thing and go. You do wind up with this bag that the poles fit in and the cords fit in, but it's not too much extra to carry around. Sound quality is good. If you've seen my other videos, you'll know I'm not a huge fan of plastic cabinets. I really haven't noticed anything funky about the sound quality of the top cabinet. I do think with the bass you can kind of tell it's a plastic cabinet. You know, I'd love to side by side compare the EVOX 8, you know, versus the EVOX J8 or JMIX8, just to see if it really is the plastic cabinet that I'm hearing a slight difference out of, or, you know, maybe it's just all in my head too. But overall, you know, I don't think the average person will notice a difference in sound quality. You know, this thing thumps pretty good. When you turn it up, the highs are crisp and loud. They project nicely, and they project out. I think 120 degrees by 30. I think. I don't know if that's 15 up, 15 down, or if there's like 10 up, 20 down. You know, slight tilt in the pattern. I'm not quite sure. They don't have anything about that in the manual. But the top isn't loud behind it, so it does a very good job of projecting the audio forward. In my turbo sound videos, that was one of my biggest complaints with the turbo sounds, was that it just seemed to radiate audio in every direction. Not just bass. Bass is omnidirectional. That's going to go everywhere unless you have a cardioid setup. But highs are very directional. They should only be shooting one way. And with the turbo sounds, I felt just like it went everywhere. You know, I did when I did a school dance with it and had them really thumping loud, and I left with my ears ringing. With these, the projection is great. You know, if you turn it up loud, yes, you do hear the bass behind the speakers. It actually, you probably end up hearing kind of a muffled sound because you're not really getting the highs behind the speakers. But you don't want the highs behind the speakers, so that's one thing I do like about it. Although sometimes from behind it's tough to gauge how loud I have my mic. Sometimes I think I have my mic a little too loud, but at least everybody can hear me then. So overall sound quality is good. Oh, and it's lightweight. I will take a 5% dip and bass sound quality for how light this thing is. The IP3000s were going to be my personal speaker that I went out with, and I did gigs with them for probably 2 months, almost every weekend. And they got heavy. My back hurts. I need to go to the chiropractor. I've actually got a big event today, and I'm holding off on the chiropractor because I don't want to go to the chiropractor and then go to my event and tweak my back again. But the IP3000s are destined to be in the shop for a while because they're heavy, and you have to pick. They're so low to the ground that it's rough on the back. Even picking them up just to put them on a cart, it's really been starting to wear on my back. So I like that the handle's on the top of this thing. You know, realistically, when I go to pick it up, I maybe have to lean over about that much to grab the handle and pick it up, and I can walk with it in one hand. So the weight's good. I like the handle positioning. For a smaller female DJ, handle position might be a little tough for them. You know, if they don't have the arm strength in one hand to pick this up, they're probably going to wish it had two handles on the sides to grab it like this. But I think for the majority of DJs out there, I don't think there will be an issue with this. Realistically, I wouldn't even need a cart with this. I could just walk into a venue with one hand. The mixer. That's probably the one thing that I have an issue with is the mixer. And I shouldn't even say I have an issue with it. I wish it was built out with slightly more functionality. It's very much a simplified mixer. But with that being said, I mix a lot of bands, and I use a Midas M32. And that thing has got so many features, you know, half of them I don't even use. So anytime I come down to a digital mixer like this, you know, I realize it's built into a speaker. It's meant to be an all-in-one simple system for, you know, a solo acoustic performer or something, or an easy karaoke gig. You know, it's not going to be loaded with features to fine-tune your sound perfectly, but for me, there's just a few things I wish were built out a little bit more. So, for example, the main outs and aux outs have a 7-band graphic EQ. You can't do a whole lot with 7 bands. It doesn't even go deep into the bass frequencies or up into the high frequencies. It starts at like 125 hertz and goes up to I think like 6 or 8K. So, you know, I was getting some feedback from my mic in the lower frequencies on my first gig, and I really wanted to notch out right around just 100 hertz. Not so much 125. I felt like 125 was too high from where the actual feedback I was getting was. But 125 is all I had to work with because it's only a 7-band. So even if it had like a 15-band maybe, I mean 31 would be awesome because that really lets you contour the sound. But 7's better than nothing, but it's not quite enough for my liking. The channel EQ is also a little on the basic side. It's 3-band, high, mid, low. The low and highs are just shelf EQs, not adjustable, and straight line up and down on each side. The mids are not fully parametric, but they are sweepable. Now, I would have liked, you know, I'm not going to say I think they need to build a fully parametric EQ into this thing for each channel, but having all 3 bands be sweepable, or maybe doing a 4-band EQ, and then I'd be fine with highs and lows being shelving EQs. But if I had a low mid and a high mid that were both sweepable, I think that would give me the extra flexibility that I'm looking for. Because with my microphone, what I really wanted to do was I had to use the sweepable to cut out right around 450 hertz. And that just kind of cleared up the clarity in my vocal mic. But I also wanted to bring it down to about 100. I had the high pass filter set at 100, but I would have liked to have just put an extra little notch right around 100 just instead of having the high pass go like that, just to dip it and then curve it. And I do that a lot when I seem to be having feedback issues in the kind of upper bass frequencies. But my only option there was to do the shelf EQ, and I don't remember where the shelf EQ goes up to, if it's 125, it might be 140, but it's up high enough to where I had to bring it down probably 5 or 6 dB to get rid of the feedback I was having, and it really thinned my voice out to the point where I didn't really like it that thin. I do like to have a little bass in my voice when I'm talking on the mic. I don't like to cut out all the low end. But that's probably my two biggest gripes with it, with the digital mixers, just the EQing functionality. Just wish it was more than just basic EQing ability that like you'd find in an 8-channel analog mixer. My other complaint was the compressors. Now, it's not just a 1-channel auto compressor, or a 1-setting auto compressor. It's got I think auto compressor for vocals, bass, guitar, drums, and then I think just a generic light and heavy. But it is definitely a 1-knob compressor. There's no threshold settings. There's no compression setting. There's no makeup gain setting. It's just 1 knob. Turn it up. That's what you get, and then it auto compresses and auto makeup gains at the same time. So you wind up just getting it however they have it programmed, and they don't give any information as to how it's programmed. So you got to just turn it up, listen to it, and hope for the best. And one of the things that I did notice when you initially load like the vocal compressor, it sets it to 20 something, maybe like 21. I was getting feedback right off the bat. And you really have to be careful with a compressor, because if the actual compression you can squash down as much as you want, but when you start to add a lot of makeup gain, you're bringing up the volume of everything, which could help facilitate feedback. And that was one of the issues I was having, was in order to squash a vocal as much as I wanted to, it was applying, just a ton of makeup gain. And I didn't really like it, so I have the compression set very light because of that, and it's not doing what I want it to do. Because my goal with having, one of my reasons for buying this was because of the digital mixer and the built-in compressor. Because when I do a karaoke gig, you always have one guy that just sings really loud, and then the next person sings really quiet. And if you're not constantly riding the fader and adjusting the mic volume with every singer, people start complaining, "Oh, I can't hear the singer." Anybody that's done a karaoke gig knows what I'm talking about. So my goal was just to take that really loud singer and just throw on some compression, squish their vocals down so when they really sing out, they're not insanely loud. And then just maybe take that, add a little bit of makeup gain to bring the quiet singer up a little bit, just to help even out the singers. So that was my goal, but it's really not working that way, because it almost seems like, yeah, I might compress the loud singer, but the loud singer is also adding makeup gain, which makes them seem even louder instead of quieter. And then the quiet singer doesn't seem like they're compressing them at all. Maybe making up a little gain, but it just doesn't seem like it's evening them together. It's more making the loud singer even louder and the quiet singer just a hair louder. So I'm gonna keep messing with that. It's hard for me to do it in the office because I seem to talk at one volume. I try to talk louder and I don't get that much louder, so it's hard for me to mess around with the settings and figure out something that works in the office. So I have to fiddle fiddle with it on the fly at gigs. So I'm hoping eventually I can figure something out, and I might just have to use the heavy compressor. But I just wish I knew, when you have heavy, is it really compressing it with minimal makeup gain, or is it really heavy compressing it with a, you know, just a crap ton of makeup gain? I don't know, because there's no literature on it, and there's no visual feedback on the display or on the app as to what is happening while you are, you know, engaging the compressor. So a little bit of a mystery there. But for the average person coming off of an analog mixer, they're probably going to like the added functionality of this mixer. For somebody who's used to mixing a band going to this, you're probably going to be wishing it was a little bit more feature rich. Also, I should note that the crossover frequency between the top and the sub is, I think, 220, and that's why I wasn't getting any feedback in the high end. The feedback I was getting on my mic, my first gig, was subwoofer feedback, so we're talking under 220 hertz, and that's definitely more omnidirectional. And I think if I had been, you know, standard DJ setup, speakers about 5 feet away from me on each side, I don't think I would have gotten feedback. But because I was doing a karaoke gig using the built-in mixer, when I'm talking on the mic and I'm adjusting my level, I'm leaning down and my mic is, you know, 2.5 feet from the speaker. And I think that was one thing that was obviously, you know, facilitating my feedback issues. But I do have a little bit of EQ on it now, and that did definitely help. But I think once I get the mixer set to where I want it set, I don't think I'm going to need to have it right next to me. I think I'll be able to have it over a little bit and just casually go over and adjust the volume and just. So I'm still working on my settings. I've only done two karaoke gigs and 1 trivia gig with it so far, so I haven't had a whole lot of live time to really try to fine-tune the details on it. If you are doing a DJ gig, you don't have to use the mixer. There is an input in the back, so if you have 2 JMIX8s and you're going out with your nice DJ controller, you can just XLR in and bypass the mixer altogether. In the future, I do like this speaker, so that's one thing I will say. I do recommend this speaker. I think if you're looking for a nice lightweight, compact column array that sounds good, gets loud, and projects really nicely, yeah, I definitely think you'll be happy with this one. So after buying one, I bought one for karaoke gigs, and one works just fine for the standard small town karaoke. You know, 120 degrees wide, 30 degrees in the vertical. So with one speaker, you can cover an entire bar with one speaker. You know, if you were doing a wedding and a reception hall, I don't think you'd want to go out with just one. You maybe could if it was a smaller wedding, but I definitely think you'd want to. And just another one, you know, people are spending a lot of money on a wedding. Your setup should look nice. I like symmetry with mine, so 2 speakers is kind of where it's at for me. So I do plan on getting the non-mixer version, just the RCF J8, eventually. I haven't ordered it yet, but I do plan on getting the second one because I think this will be my go-to speaker for shows up to 100, maybe 150, maybe small school dances, small weddings. On the downside, with just being a 12-inch sub, if you're going to try to push 200 to 300 people and really have a full dancing sound, I don't think you probably still could do 300 people with this, 250-ish maybe. I feel like you're gonna lack the output a little bit that you would want, and definitely lack bass. This puts out more bass and more sound than say just 2 standard 12-inch speakers. But just not enough low end, I think, for a really big crowd. So down the road, once I get a second one of these, if I find I really like them for weddings, I may get the RCF EVOX 12, which, you know, is a 15-inch sub, and then still 8 drivers in the top, but they're 4-inch drivers. I may look into getting that for, you know, the 250 to 300 person events. Yeah, I'd really like to hear one before I drop the cash on them, because I think they're like, geez, I don't even know what the price is off the top of my head on those, but pretty sure I'm going to spend around $4 grand if I get 2 of them. And, you know, then you always come to the thing, well, for that price, is it better to just get 2 18-inch subs and 2 tops for bigger shows like that? You know, I don't know. So I think I'll be battling that decision back and forth a little bit, but, you know, for now, I'm going to use this for the smaller gigs. My turbo sounds, sadly, I think I said in my turbo sound video that I had no plans on selling them. I do like them, but my turbo sounds are getting sold. They're just a little too heavy, and I was hoping that they would be usable for big gigs, but having the fixed column, they don't have the flexibility to get the sound up above the crowd and project when you're doing a big gig. And that's really one thing people need to consider when they're buying a column array, or just in general buying a speaker, is, you know, if you go to Guitar Center, your local music store, wherever, or even listen to a buddy's speaker, there is a big difference in having a speaker, you know, 8 feet in front of you and just standing there listening to it and going, oh yeah, man, that sounds amazing. Like if I take my IP3000s outside and demo them for somebody and we're just standing in front of it and I ramp up the volume, it's like, whoa, these things sound good. Like, surprising amount of bass out of the 412s, and they get loud. But now, you take 100 people, cluster them right in front of the setup, and stand behind those people, 80% of your sound is killed, because when you think about it, with the IP3000, it's got 18 3.5-inch drivers, 12-inch subs, so you're talking the first 3.5-inch driver really is hitting everybody in the knees. That sound's going nowhere. And just all the way up, it just, you know, everything's just hitting people's bodies. There's just not enough of the speaker up high enough. And my thought with the IP3000 when I bought it was that I liked it because of how long the column was and that it did have speakers spanning the whole thing, because I thought, well, with that long of a column, you're really, you know, focusing and really harnessing line array capabilities, because, you know, the longer the line, the better the projection and stuff. You know, we have a real line array. You might be able to kind of see part of it. There's our DAS Audio Event 210A, and when you hang 4 boxes per side, it's loud. But when you go to 6 boxes per side and increase that line, like, you can just tell that it just going from 4 to 6 really helps focus that beam and shoot it out. So I thought with the turbo sound IP3000 having a big column, I thought that would have been, you know, be more advantageous sound-wise. But really, I think it comes down to engineering, because you know, for being how much smaller this is compared to the IP3000 or the IP2000, I think the sound, this is in line with the IP2000. I would buy this over the 2000 any day. And it's got way less speakers, but yet I think it sounds better. And I did hear, I think I was watching a YouTube video where RCF was demoing something. I think they might have been demoing this thing, because I watch a lot of YouTube videos before I buy stuff. And the RCF guy that was talking about it said they don't just build speakers, they design systems. And going from the turbo sound to the RCF and paying the extra money, you obviously are spending more money doing RCF than turbo sound. Like in my videos I always say, turbo sound has the best price to performance ratio. You get a middle of the road speaker at a great price. With RCF you're paying a little bit more, but there is a noticeable difference in audio quality. They sound better, they seem engineered better. I think for me, slowly upgrading, getting a little bit better, and maybe getting up to the EVOX 12 will be my goal. But we're getting into the slow season, so my speaker buying has to tone down a bit, so it might be a while before I get the EVOX 12s, but I wish somebody had them around here so I could take a listen. But we'll probably have to wait until next summer when I get some money rolling in again. But for now, I think these are going to be my speakers going forward for bar dances, weddings. We've got a big college dance tonight. This obviously will not do for that. We're going to be bringing dual 18s and regular tops. So for big gigs, those still seem to be the types of audio systems you need. I'm hoping when these get into like Gen 3, Gen 4, that they start to make them bigger, they start to get louder, they start to get more bass. I really would like to see, you know, I like this. I like the all-in-one, the top's not powered, it all seems to work well together. I would like to see a modular column array system. And by that I mean I would like to see a powered sub, and realistically it could be a sub from any line, but a powered sub, maybe 12, 15, and 18. And then I would like to see a top like this, maybe not with 2-inch drivers, maybe 3-inch. No compression drivers though. That's my issue, and some of you are probably going to talk about like the RCF NXL column, because that's where I'm going with this, is I would like to see this powered, and maybe having a smaller version like this that's powered, but one where you could stack 2 on top of each other and really increase your output, having 16 drivers instead of just the 8, and then maybe having a larger version of that as an option with maybe 3-inch drivers, or maybe even the like the EVOX 12, where you could double stack 2 15s and then have 2 of those columns, so you've got 16 4-inch drivers, and really build out a system that way. Just something more scalable. And I know there's the DB Technologies and Genia series. I know RCF has got the NXL 24, maybe 44 as well. But the thing that I don't like about those is the compression driver. And the fact that when you have to, I mean, you know, you flip the other one upside down, compression driver, so you wind up with compression drivers in the middle, and, you know, I'm not an audio engineer, but I feel like that negates the whole line array benefit of having all your drivers in a row by putting 2 compression drivers in the middle. Then you wind up with 2 lines and a compression driver. And I just don't like that, but hopefully down the road I wind up getting what I want. Until then, I'll be in search for the perfect column array system. But for now, until I get an itch to buy something new, this is the one I'll be sticking with, and I probably will not be going out with the IP3000s much anymore. They'll be up for sale, and hopefully I get rid of them in a few months, and then I'll be looking more towards the EVOX 12. But if you have any questions about this system, throw it down in the comments section. Be happy to answer any questions you might have. Until then, we'll see you next time.